This is in continuation with the earlier part. Now we are going to focus mainly on the social system. We had talked about formal organizational system, individual system. Now we come to the social system, which is an integral part again of the organizational dynamics. Now the group is the main focus, and this group within organization emerges out of multilateral interpersonal relationship. What does it mean? It means that groups do not get limited by its own status. They can go beyond the status, below the status, parallel to the status. Functions also, different marketing person can be a part of the group of the production or human relations, like that. It is spanning all over the organization. So the group as a main focus of social system spans all over the organization. Now organization has technology which creates the or shapes the input and demands, creates formal groups, and role relationships in that formal group are defined with the help of rules, regulations, technological, formal requirements of the organization. Homans talks about the activities which is referred to as intricate relations between the activities, interactions and sentiments of the people in the group. And one thing very interestingly Homans puts, that more interactions among persons, more will be their shared activities. So you get attached to each other through interactions. This interaction develops into further interactions and sentiments. So you get emotionally attached to the group, to other persons in the group. Group is hypothetical, there are persons. So you get in a collectivist way related to people in your group. And what is the need for this? What is the result of this? More the sentiments people have for one another, more will be their shared activities and interactions. That is why you see that the whole notion of emotional intelligence caught up so largely, especially with organizations. It's just not functional relationship, but something social, something emotional, and this is contingent on interactions, and these lead to group dynamics. How they are formed, what is the nature of their structure, and what are the processes. All these determine their function, their impact on individual members, groups and organization. These are all very well established in literature. So group dynamics is one of the very powerful ways of understanding individual organizational interface along with the social structure. Now, what determines the nature of the group? One is the formal organization, and some of the examples can be the command group, task group, which are determined by the organization, and the interest and friendship groups are actually social groups. They are formed not by command but by spontaneity of their members having similar interests, relationship. Basically, the informal groups are formed by their members to satisfy their own needs, especially in the social context. Why people join groups, formal or informal? For security. Why people seek for public sector employment? That is giving the organization giving security. Status, name of the organization, name of the group, name of the club as a group. Self-esteem, affiliation, you become a member, power that you get, and the goals are facilitated for their achievement. And one thing you have to remember, that formal groups in the organization, especially in the organization context, they are more permanent than the informal group. Informal groups are mostly based on sentiments and are very temporary in nature. But at the end of the day, sometimes the informal groups may become formal. So that is the group growth, which is explained in another segment, group growth and development, informal groups becoming formal groups. But to understand, basically the formal groups are created by the organization and they remain more or less stable. Now there is a myth of group cohesiveness. What is the problem with this? Let me explain this. There is a phenomena called groupthink. Groupthink means people think in the same way, or they are forced to think in a same way. They are not cohesive in the real sense, but they are made to think in particular way. This decreases the mental efficiency of the individual, reality testing, moral judgment, and they yield to the pressures from the group. So the individual entity is lost to a great extent. But it doesn't mean that groupthink is always negative. Sometimes the groupthink can bring changes in social system, in organization system, in formal and as well as informal system, where people work for a cause and the principles of management, politics and other social sciences basically start when people get together. It's not no more the individual think, but what people think. But it's not always very positive, because groupthink mostly occurs in the organization to conform to the command and reach a consensus. The saying that if everybody thinks alike, nobody thinks much, which is a truism, and this reflects the weakness of cohesiveness. Cohesiveness is based on relationship. Groupthink is based on a particular streamline where pressures, need altogether create the individual think in one way, which may not be all the time healthy. The organization actually is forced to create authority structures, working conditions, formal regulations, performance standards and so many other things based on vision, its vision, what is its vision, how it is converted into mission, and how the mission are achieved by formation of goals, and all the structures, conditions, regulations, they are towards the goal achievement, and goal achievement is taken as one of the measures to know whether the organization is effective or not. One thing you have to remember is the synergistic ability. The ability of its members to draw their energy, power, motivation from each other. If this doesn't happen, then the group membership goes out of the window. So this synergy is very important. especially in relation to size, structure, performance standards and goals. Let me explain here that if the goal is said to be unrealistic in the sense of the basic infrastructure, people's qualities, qualifications and all these, then it won't be possible for others to draw a realistic energy from each other. So, it has to be based on vision, mission, goal. We go back to the vision, mission, goal continuously to see whether whatever objectives we have set for relating to vision and mission are achievable or not. If not, then what are the reasons? Go into that kind of analysis and then set up different bars. So, the organization keeps on doing this bar setting and changing. So, that is why the dynamism is very important. Then the groups, they respond in terms of their own realities, like the ability of the members, their own synergic ability to know, to learn, to draw from each other, the size and structure, and what are their own performance standards and goals. One cannot jump the bar, the group prevents it. So, this is not a very simple relationship, it is a very complex relationship. And one thing that is very prominent here is the actions of the leader. The leader, formal leader or informal leader, both have the responsibility towards creating efficiency and effectiveness. They have to not only to deal with the conflicts within the group, between the groups, but also remember how positively they must achieve the standards, the objectives, the goals, and in turn the vision and mission of the organization. And any organization which is successful works on these formulations, works on these realities. Let us look into the structure of the group. Very naturally, the leader. In the formal group, there is a formal leader. Informal group, there is informal leader. But since within the organization the formal and the informal groups coexist, the formal leader and informal leader must also coexist effectively and avoid conflict. This is an extremely important relationship for the effectiveness of the group as well as the organization. Then we have certain issues with roles. How role is perceived? How do you identify with the role? You means that the worker or the manager or group member, let us call the organizational member. What are the expectations around the role? What do you expect? Not only in terms of remuneration, working hours, but also certain social status, individual pride. Then we have to analyze where the roles overlap to avoid the extra effort, where the roles are ambiguities, have ambiguities, clear those ambiguities and conflict, and these become the most effective part of group processes. Both the groups, formal and informal, have their regulations. The regulations of the formal and informal groups must have compatibility within the group, between the group. Then we can achieve the group effectiveness as well as at the end of the day the organizational effectiveness. let's understand the group status. What is the status of the group? People might have this question. Now, there are two types. One is the group that has been ascribed a status within the organization by the formal rules, regulations, and the other is the achieved status. This is very important. Many a times certain groups become very important, formal or informal, through their achievements. So one must learn, understand about this. The group status is contingent on the leadership and power. In the formal group, the power is exercised through position, and in informal groups it is the personal power that counts of the members as well as the leaders. Whereas in the position power which is ascribed, the individual's personal power does not count, and both the functions and processes of these formal and informal groups, they lead to the tendency to behave, and that is the output. This behavior may be in terms of performance within the group, performance outside the group, performance for the group, performance against the group or other groups against other groups. So many complexities they exist. It's not one-to-one relationship. One has to understand both the status and the power that is in the group and resting with the leader, formal or informal. Now let's come to a very important aspect, that is the synergy between formal organizational system, individual system and the social system. The formal organizational system has to recognize the fact that informal organization groups exist and they have the positive potential for making change, positive changes, as well as the negative part, negative potential for generating conflict. So we have two things. The groups have the power, and that power has to be recognized by the formal organization system, both for enhancing effectiveness and understanding and taking care of conflict. The individual system is caught between the commands of the formal organizational system and the social system, which is apparent many times, especially during change of the organizational system or society. This individual doesn't know where to go. So listen to the fellow members of the group or to the organizational command. So the formal organization has to integrate the social system in its own fold, and social system along with its goals and actions must be a part of the formal organizational system. Now you understand the significance of social system for the effective functioning of the organization. The synergistic model is actually coming from systems model, where the synergy, the exchange of energy and giving and taking of the energy of the three, FOS, IS and SS, is basically living together, tying together the basic logic that formal organization is ultimately responsible for integrating the individual system into a cohesive unit and achieving the best of organization effectiveness. The organizational effectiveness is what is the main goal through performance and satisfaction. The satisfaction is not given by the organization in a package rather it is the individual and the group that determines the individual and group satisfaction. The formal organization has this job to create a synergy between its own power, the power of the individual as well as the social group, and this is needed to adjust positively, effectively with the change, because change is the reality every organization has to face, and it has to keep on changing itself to the demands of others and also retaining its own nature, its own perspective. So, the pressures of change, competition and conflict, they have to be taken account of, and organization has to act as individual system, and this is where the learning organizations, the concept of learning organizations have come. The learning, internalizing and responding to other systems on a continuous basis. This is the responsibility of FOS for creating not only success in material terms, but also success in having a happy employee, happy social system and creating a positive environment.